Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
This morning, we are following a report about a stabbing on Glenwood South in Raleigh and a potential case that might be related. Coming up, we're explaining what we know from investigators so far.
And it's going to be a hot one. The heat index up into the triple digits. I'll show you when it could climb high enough for a heat advisory.
And getting paid to play, how North Carolina may be one step closer to allowing high school athletes make profits. And swimming, gymnastics, and volleyball. It's all on tap today in Paris. Plus, how NC State's Catherine Burkhoff performed during her Olympic debut. It's all very exciting. We are tracking everything going on across the pond. We'll have that for you coming up. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lovingood. Here in our own little pond, though. Yeah. Things are real nice as you're waking up this morning weather-wise. We have meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner back again from some time off, and she's going to get you started on your weather forecast.
I think being in the pond might be a really good place to be today and for the next several days, because we are transitioning right back into the heat again. We take a look at just a few clouds hanging over downtown Raleigh by the Legislative Building. 75 with a dew point of 69. And so that definitely is on the muggy side. We have a small chance for thunderstorms, mainly south of the triangle this afternoon. We'll have a disturbance that drops in from the northwest, swings south and southeast. And so it would be our southern counties most affected. We'll take a look at that on Futurecast coming up. We'll climb into the mid-90s this afternoon, but we'll be in the upper 90s tomorrow. It's probably going to push us high enough for a heat advisory, potentially for both Thursday and Friday. We're also watching the tropics, a 60% chance that a system develops here across the Bahamas with two potential scenarios. One off the coast of North Carolina with a bit of a stronger system, possibly a tropical storm, not necessarily making landfall, but we'll be watching that very closely. We'll talk about what the impacts could be with that, or if it's a weaker system, it could move into the Gulf of Mexico. So again, we'll have more on that coming up. We're looking at, of course, some warm temperatures in the meantime, Ken.
Oh, and happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, Elizabeth. We continue to follow an incident there in Apex that's causing quite a bit of problems on US 1 north and southbound lanes. This is the shoulders blocked because of that crash in the US 1 northbound lane near the US 64 exit ramp there eastbound. It's causing quite a bit of delays in that area, north and southbound lanes of US 1. We've been looking at it in terms of an alternate route, in terms of getting around this mess. Definitely use Highway 64 and State Road 540 as alternate routes to really avoid this mess that you're seeing both in north and southbound lanes of US 1 there in Apex. A couple of incidents to report on Pool Road. This crash is near the I-440 westbound lanes, and this crash is near New Hope Road. Neither is causing any major problems in that area. We are seeing a bit of a slowdown at Old Pool Road, but that's probably just a morning congestion that we've been seeing this morning as well. Elsewhere, we've been following that situation in the south side of the Beltline. There was a crash there on I-40 westbound near Gorman Street. It has since cleared, but you can still see the lingering delays this morning there in the south side of the Beltline. At one point, right now, it's in terms of getting from the Beltline to US 1, it's just adding about 15 minutes. At one point, that was up to more than 40 minutes.
All right, thank you, Ken. Breaking news, police say a person is in custody after a stabbing on Glenwood South. It happened after 2 a.m. this morning. Nick Perlin was there on the WRAL Breaking News Tracker.
Raleigh police officers had this area of Glenwood South taped off early this morning as they investigated a stabbing that left at least one person with serious injuries. Now, I want to get you to this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker just so you can see what this looked like. You can see crime scene tape blocking off this area of Glenwood South, as well as evidence markers here as Raleigh police try to gather more information. We did learn from Raleigh police that 2 people were stabbed. One man has serious injuries, but we're still trying to get an update on how the other person is doing at this time. Now, when I did first arrive here, about 3 people told me there was some sort of fight early this morning. We're still trying to learn if that fight led to the stabbing. We know Raleigh police also arrested 1 person this morning. We're still trying to find out the identity of that person. We'll keep you up to date with any new information we learn. In Raleigh, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Raleigh next week, and she is set to have her new running mate by her side. The Harris campaign says that she will announce the running mate soon, and their first stop together will be in Philadelphia on Tuesday. They'll also visit Wisconsin, Detroit, Savannah, Phoenix, and Las Vegas next week, along with Raleigh. No further information has been provided about exactly where or when the Raleigh stop will be. WRAL, of course, will watch for that information. And former President Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is calling Harris dangerously liberal. He says that she unleashed the worst border crisis in American history. He held a campaign event last night in Reno, Nevada, and in his speech, he called Harris a, quote, disloyal American, end quote. He also said opening the border to millions of migrants is threatening to bankrupt Medicare.
Today, state school leaders will consider name, image, and likeness rules for high school sports. They'll talk about it today ahead of a vote on it in September. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is at the State Education Building this morning. Kelsey, board members will look at years of research about NIL in high schools.
Michelle, they're going to review about 2 hours worth of research, and now this will give leaders here at the State Education Building an opportunity to make a more informed decision a little bit later down the line. Now, right now, North Carolina student athletes are not allowed to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Our state is in the minority when it comes to these guidelines. More than 30 other states already have NIL policies. The average NIL deal for a high school athlete is between $60 and $120. This from the State High School Athletic Association. State education leaders will make a final decision about NIL in September. This morning, they will only hear about all that research. We'll keep you updated on what comes out of a presentation that's scheduled for this morning at 10:45. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll talk about what state education leaders will be addressing later today that could impact your child's safety in school. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Tensions have only escalated in the Middle East this morning, and that's because Hamas says that its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated at his home in Iran. Hamas says that an airstrike from Israel killed him, but Israel's leadership have not commented on this. Iran's supreme leader is vowing to avenge Haniyeh's death, and Russia and China have also condemned this attack. Hamas says Haniyeh was killed after he attended the inauguration ceremony for Iran's new president. The chief of Israel's intelligence agency vowed to kill Haniyeh after Hamas's October 7th attack. 3 of his sons were killed in the airstrike on the Gaza Strip back in April. And Hezbollah says that it is still searching for the body of a commander killed during an Israeli strike in Lebanon. Israel says the strike near Beirut killed the organization's most senior military commander, and the attacks marked the most significant Israeli escalation since tensions between Israel and Hezbollah intensified after October 7th.
New this morning, authorities in Lenoir County arrested a man accused of abusing dogs. He was arrested around 12:30 this morning, and the sheriff's office plans to hold a news conference at 2 p.m. Matthew Neal is the owner of East Carolina Retrievers. He faces 9 counts of felony cruelty to animals in Lenoir County and 2 misdemeanor counts in Duplin County. Authorities seized 11 dogs from his property and say they are in a safe location this morning.
All right, let's get that gold. Another day of Olympic Games is underway. At 9 o'clock this morning, the USA women's beach volleyball team will play France. Starting at 11:30, you can watch Team USA's men's gymnastics compete in the all-around final. Then at 2:30 this afternoon, swimming. That is the focus. There are 2 women's finals, one for the 100-meter freestyle and the other for the 1,500-meter freestyle. And yes, you can watch all of these events and more live today on WRAL. You can also catch the replay on prime time in Paris starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
For the first time in 24 years, the U.S. men's soccer team is heading to the quarterfinals. The team took to the pitch yesterday, beating Guinea 3-0. They are now set to take on Morocco Friday, with the winner advancing to the semifinals. And NC State's Catherine Burkhoff made her Olympic debut. She won bronze in the 100-meter backstroke. She and her father now both have medals in this swimming event. David Burkhoff won the 100-meter backstroke in 88 and 92.
Like father, like daughter, right? Today, the Federal Reserve will decide whether to cut interest rates for the first time since 2020. Analysts say that it is unlikely the Fed will make the decision to reduce rates right now. We have the chair, Jerome Powell, saying that he signaled he wants more proof inflation is closer to the Fed's goal of 2%. However, he could indicate plans for a rate cut at the Fed's next meeting come September.
Coming up, as you pack yours and your kids' lunch for the day, you may want to check which lunch meat you use. Coming up, the expanded deli meat recall involving millions of pounds of boar's head products.
Plus, deputies are still trying to track down this man they say nearly hit a deputy and avoided arrest. The tactics deputies in 2 counties are using to track him down. Elizabeth?
And it is going to be another hot day today, looking at temperatures feeling like 102, 103, 104, and then even hotter for the next several days. I'll show you when we could be under a heat advisory again.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through the week as you look live over a beautiful North Hills this morning. We're feeling okay, but it's going to get really hot today. We got used to those 80s, Elizabeth, and now we're climbing right back up into the mid 90s.
I'm not sure how that happened. I leave and it's in the 80s. I come back and we're back to 98 for tomorrow. My goodness. It's a pretty start out there. We take another look at downtown Raleigh across from the legislative building there from the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. Overnight last night, we did see a disturbance drop down into South Carolina, sort of across western North Carolina. It's mostly moved offshore. We'll see another one of those that you could see moving on into parts of Illinois. That's going to drop down again. Pretty much same story. So it would be maybe clipping our southern counties later on today. So let's jump on in. We'll pause it there at noon where we're nice and quiet. But notice the showers and thunderstorms that start to fire up just to the south of the triangle. Southern Pines, Fayetteville, Clinton would be areas where you'd be more likely to see one of those isolated storms. They won't be widespread, but we'll have a little better chance for tomorrow and Friday. The level 1 risk for today is to our west from the Triad back to Charlotte and into western North Carolina. But for tomorrow, we're looking at more widespread chances across the state. So almost the entire state is under that level 1 risk for Thursday. And again on Friday for damaging winds, some heavy rain, possibly some hail along with that. Of course, we're also watching the tropics closely. We've been talking about this for the last several days. There's a 60% chance of a system developing in the Bahamas. It doesn't yet have a closed circulation. When it does, the Hurricane Center will start to put out official tracks. We're watching the probabilities and the computer models until that happens. And this is a look at our probability of a tropical storm developing off the coast of North Carolina. It's about a 60% chance, just like the National Hurricane Center shows us. But it's also possible that it could drift into the Gulf of Mexico instead. It's more likely to get picked up by this high pressure system. This is the Bermuda High, which is so much a permanent fixture out here in the Atlantic this time of year. Rotating clockwise can grab those storms and push them up past North Carolina. So what does that mean for us? Most likely we would have dangerous rip currents, some heavy surf, possibly some erosion, maybe some overwash on Highway 12. Worst case scenario, if it pushes inland or becomes a little stronger, there could be some coastal flooding and possibly some wind damage. So should you cancel your trip to the beach? Not yet. Keep watching. And we'll have more information, of course, as we go through the next several days about if it's going to develop into a tropical system and how close it could come to the United States. Thursday and Friday, big story is going to be the heat, upper 90s. I'll show you what the heat index will feel like and our chances for a heat advisory. Coming up, Ken.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to monitor the delays we've been seeing on the south side of the Beltline in particular. We're talking, there was a crash on I-40 westbound near Gorman Street. That crash has since cleared, but you can see the lingering delays it's causing right now. I was recommending taking the northern side of the Beltline as a result, particularly if coming in from Johnston County. But similarly, you're seeing that there's some slowdown on the north side of the Beltline, but I still think that's still your best route in terms of getting around this, because right now, getting from the Beltline to US 1 is taking about 5 minutes. Things are definitely getting better, because at one point, about an hour and a half ago, that was up to like almost an hour. For more than 40 minutes in some cases. We do have the shoulder blocked in US 1 northbound lane, US 64 in the eastbound ramp, but we're seeing US 1 north and south in Apex has been a real trouble spot this morning. I would highly recommend taking State Road 540 and US 64, those west and eastbound lanes, as an alternate route to avoid this slowdown that you're seeing between Highway 64 and State Road 540 this morning. That should save you some extra time. It might add some time to your commute, but it'll save you some time in the long run. A couple of incidents to report on Pool Road. This crash on I-440 in the westbound lane, and this crash near South New Hope Road. Neither is causing any problems for your morning commute this morning. And elsewhere around the triangle, we're seeing slowdowns that we're seeing on those northern side of the Beltline. Let's show you exactly what's going on in those northern lanes. These are the westbound lanes moving away from us on I-40 and Capitol Boulevard. Even though it's moving slowly, it's actually moving at a steady clip.
Let's take it to two wheels now. Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center right now. The BMX freestyle competition just wrapped up, and America has added to its medal count. I'll get to that in just a second. First, this is Hannah Roberts right now. She's from Jacksonville, North Carolina, and she had a great first run going today. She was a favorite coming in. She tried to seal the deal on that first run with a front flip. She wiped out on her bike. So it was all riding on her second run. She was the last competitor to go. She knew exactly what score she needed, and she touched down. Her foot slipped off a pedal, and she touched down. So we're going to take a look at the final results from that BMX freestyle park competition there. Paris Benegas for USA. She's from San Diego. She takes second, so she takes silver for USA, adding to the medal count right there. China took first. Hannah Roberts, you see down there, a disappointing finish for her, finishing 8th in that. But after winning silver at the Tokyo Games, she's not going to be happy with that 8th place finish right there. Paris Benegas. So Paris bringing home silver from Paris.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Well, this morning, a 2-county manhunt is on for a man accused of nearly hitting a deputy with a car while escaping arrest. Deputies in Harnett County were using drones and canines to try and find Eric Stone. The Lee County Sheriff's Office says he nearly ran over a deputy on Monday. He later crashed his car and went on the run. Stone is wanted in Harnett County for being a habitual felon and possession of methamphetamines. He's also wanted in Lee County for a probation violation. He now faces an additional charge of assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer. Authorities say the swampy landscape in the area is giving Stone a lot of potential places to hide.
This morning, a jury will be back for a third day of deliberations in the Holly Springs pellet gun shooting case. Henderson Atwater is accused in this case, the shootings that injured 2 people between 2020 and 2021. He spent nearly 3 years in jail waiting for a trial. And then that ended in a mistrial last year for this same case. Now, yesterday, the jury asked to see pieces of evidence for a second time, but ultimately did not come back with a verdict.
A massive recall involving Boar's Head deli meat is expanding. The updated recall contains another 7 million pounds of ready-to-eat meat and poultry products. This involves 71 products prepared between May 10th and July 29th under the Boar's Head and Old Country brand names. The original recall was for more than 200,000 pounds of meat. The new items include meat intended to be sliced at delis, as well as some packaged meat and poultry products sold in stores.
Today, we expect to hear from Governor Roy Cooper about the efforts to expand access to women's contraceptives across our state. Beginning tomorrow, women who receive Medicaid will be able to get Opill for free. It's the country's first over-the-counter birth control. Now, today's press conference starts at 11 a.m.
People of all ages in Wake Forest have newly shaven heads this morning. They shaved them in a fundraiser for John Walter. The 18-year-old nearly died after falling from a pickup truck. WRAL told you about Walter earlier this month. He suffered a traumatic brain injury when he was tossed from the back of a pickup in June. After weeks in the ICU, he's showing signs of recovery, even posing for a photo with his dad outside the hospital.
He can move all of his limbs. He's doing a little bit of kind of mouthing words, singing some songs a little bit, and he did some math.
The head shaving fundraiser last night at Rodino's was called the Jonathon. The community has also raised more than $42,000 for Walter and his family through a GoFundMe.
United Airlines has removed NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis from its no-fly list. This comes after Davis posted an undated letter from United Airlines to social media yesterday. In the post, he called out the airline for putting him on the no-fly list, even though he did nothing wrong. This all goes back to a situation with a flight attendant earlier this month. It ended with Davis being removed from the plane in handcuffs. He was questioned and then released. The airline then apologized to Davis for his experience. Davis' attorney said they plan to move forward with a lawsuit against the airline.
Delta Airlines has hired a high-profile attorney to seek damages from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike and Microsoft. Delta wants damages for the massive service issues last week. A software update caused a massive breakdown in Delta's crew tracking software. Delta was unable to find the pilots and flight attendants it needed to operate. According to FlightAware, Delta was forced to cancel 6,300 flights and delay over 9,300 flights over 5 days. An aviation analyst estimates estimates the issues cost Delta between $325 and $475 million. And more people are turning to counseling to help with their credit debt. A credit counseling service, Money Management International, says new clients rose by 52% so far in 2024 compared to last year. The company says the amount of debt their clients have is also rising. Credit experts say inflation has led to more consumers using credit cards to help bridge the gap of rising expenses. Coming up, Kamala Harris is making a campaign stop in the Triangle, this time with someone new by her side. The details we know so far about the event with her new running mate.
And at least one man was stabbed this morning at a busy area on Glenwood South. What we've been able to learn about this case and another one that might be connected.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We really got used to those 80s, but guess what? We're climbing back up into the 90s. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has a look over Fenton and Cary.
And we take a look here. Lots of sunshine here in Fenton, and they have a lot of fun events happening there through the next month or so. In some shady spots. 77 in Tarboro and in Rocky Mount, 75 in Southern Pines, 74 in Fayetteville. So it's definitely a warm start this morning. It'll be a hot afternoon. We'll climb into the mid 90s, but by the time the Bulls take the field, around 90 degrees and 86 as the game is starting to wrap up. And there's just a small chance for storms. The best chance for storms today will be south of the Triangle. Again, looking at 95. You want to put off much exercise in the afternoon if you can. It will feel more like low 100s. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to follow those delays we've been seeing on the south side of the Beltline this morning. If you take a closer look, there was a crash here about an hour and a half ago on Gorman Street, exit near on I-40 westbound, but you can see the lingering delays. And right now what we're seeing, really, that's the morning congestion that we usually see this time of the morning. Taking a look at all the delays on I-40 this morning, we're seeing on the Beltline, you're adding about 8 minutes to your commute time this morning. And from Wade Avenue to I-40, you're adding about 3 minutes. So keep that in mind as you're getting ready to head out.
At least one man was stabbed on Glenwood South earlier this morning. Raleigh police tell us EMS took him to the hospital with serious injuries. Another person went to the hospital with a stab wound a short time later. Police are working to learn if they're connected. One person is in custody. And coming up next on Fox 50, what we know about Kamala Harris's visit to the Triangle with her new running mate. And next on Today, Savannah and Hoda take an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Palace of Versailles.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Now at 8:30 this morning, a man is recovering from being stabbed on Glenwood South in Raleigh. We are taking you to the crime scene and we'll explain what investigators have shared about this.
And it's going to be another hot day today. We climb back into the triple digits in terms of the heat index. I'll show you when it will feel hotter than that and when you're back under a heat advisory.
And Kamala Harris is visiting Raleigh next week after she announced her new running mate. What we know about the campaign stop so far.
And another one, and another one, and another one. Simone Biles has broken another record and led Team USA to gold. We have a look at where the team stacks up in the medal count, and it just went up not too long ago. We'll show you that in just a bit. Thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. We're going to start your morning with some weather because, like I was saying before, we really got used to the, cooler temperatures, but now we're getting right back up into the 90s again. That's how it works, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'm not sure why, however, because I'm sorry that I missed all those days in the 80s, and now it's back to being really hot again. 75 degrees, our current temperature here in downtown Raleigh. Looking at a dew point of 69, that puts us well into the muggy meter territory. We also have a chance of some thunderstorms, mainly south of the Triangle this afternoon as a disturbance swings in from the northwest and dives southeast. It's a 20 to 30% chance chance this afternoon. And again, most of those would be in our southern counties. Temperatures climb into the mid-90s for this afternoon, and it will feel more like 102, 103 across our area. And we continue to watch the tropics, where we could have a system develop in the Bahamas. It's a 60% chance. Could take one of two paths. One path potentially off the coast of North Carolina, and another possibility back here across the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to be watching those two scenarios in particular and talk about what sort of impacts we could see here in North Carolina. Coming up, Ken.
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to monitor the delays we've been seeing on the south side of the Beltline in particular, because it's been quite an issue this morning when you really think about it. We're talking about, as we zoom in closer now, a crash on I-40 on Gorman Street cleared about an hour and a half ago, but we're seeing the lingering delays, and this is really part of the morning congestion that we've been seeing all morning long. That's adding quite a bit of time to your commute this morning. As you take a look at these delays this morning, I-40 westbound, if you're trying to get from the Beltline to US 1, it's going to add about 7 minutes to your commute time. And it's also, if you're on Wade Avenue, it's going to add about 4 minutes to your commute time. So keep that in mind if you're trying to head out this morning. We do have a couple of issues to report this morning. This one, the shoulder's blocked in US 1 in the northbound lane near the US 64 exit ramp there. That's not causing any problems in that particular area. But US 1 in Apex has been quite the troubled spot this morning. Take a look at what I'm talking about. It's actually cleared up a lot. You see the northbound lanes have had bumper-to-bumper traffic for most of the morning. Things have definitely thinned out on the south side of the Beltline. But if you're coming northbound this morning, you're coming from Lee County or Moore County, I would hop on State Road 540 and get over to 64 and work your way back to US 1 this morning. That should help you get around the surrounds that we've been seeing right now. A couple of incidents on Pool Road. This crash on I-440 on Pool Road and westbound lane, and this one in South New Hope Road, not causing any problems for your morning commute.
Out there. Thank you, Ken. At least one man was stabbed on Glenwood South early this morning. Raleigh police say paramedics took him to the hospital and his injuries are serious. Another person went to the hospital with a stab wound not long after this, and police are trying to figure out if these two things are connected. RPD had the area on Glenwood and West Johnson Street closed off for about 3 hours this morning, and one person is in custody.
Kamala Harris will be in Raleigh next week with her new running mate by her side. The Harris campaign says she will announce the running mate in the coming days, and they will crisscross the country together. Their first stop together will be in Philadelphia on Tuesday. They'll also visit Wisconsin, Detroit, Savannah, Phoenix, and Las Vegas next week, along with Raleigh. No further information has been provided about exactly where or when the Raleigh stop will be.
Former President Donald Trump will be in Chicago today. He's expected to be at the National Association of Black Journalists convention, and that is causing a rift among the group's leadership. In a post to X, the social media platform, one of the organization's co-chairs announced her resignation. She says that her decision was in part because she was not consulted about Trump being part of the event. The Trump campaign says that he will talk with journalists about pressing issues facing the black community. And a source told NBC News, Kamala Harris is unable to attend because of a scheduling conflict, and that NABJ turned down a plan to have her attend virtually.
New tensions in the Middle East this morning after Hamas says its leader was assassinated at his home in Iran. Hamas says that he died early this morning in an Israeli strike on the home. Iran, Russia, and China have all condemned the attack. Israeli officials have not yet commented. Hamas says Ismail Haniyeh was killed after he attended the inauguration ceremony for Iran's new president. The chief of Israel intelligence agency vowed to kill Haniyeh after Hamas's October 7th terrorist attacks. 3 of his sons were killed in an airstrike on the Gaza Strip in April.
Thousands of classroom buildings in North Carolina, including many in Wake County, do not have carbon monoxide detectors. Today, state school leaders will look at how exactly to address that. As WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains, this is going to cost some money.
Talks are happening here inside the state education building about ways to keep your students safe. Today, we'll get a breakdown on what it would take to install carbon monoxide detectors like these in schools. State education leaders are reviewing a report this afternoon. It shows most North Carolina schools don't have them. In Wake County, about 200 school buildings don't have the devices. That's more than a third of school buildings in the county. It would cost about $2.1 million to get them installed. Nikki James Zellner with CO Safe Schools says not having these detectors puts children at risk.
We think that we're protected when we're going into these establishments. We think that our children are protected. But in reality, we're relying on institutional standards that haven't really been updated in a significant amount of time.
We'll be sure to keep you updated on what happens when state education leaders meet later today, as well as give you an update on what's going on with the rest of that report. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Today, House lawmakers are scheduled to vote on overriding 3 vetoes by Governor Roy Cooper. House Bill 556 would stop local governments from punishing landlords who refuse to rent to people who are using a federal housing assistance program. Cooper says it would make it harder for people to find affordable rental housing. Then House Bill 155 would allow more modified utility vehicles on more streets, primarily in beach communities. But Cooper rejected it because of safety concerns. Then there's House Bill 690. That would ban state agencies from accepting or testing digital currency. Cooper called that an overreaction. Any veto overrides would also need to be overridden by the Senate.
UNC search for a new chancellor is moving forward today as the search committee holds a special meeting about the next steps. WRAL's Laura Levine is on UNC's campus this morning. Laura, the committee says this process needs to speed up.
That special meeting is underway right now. A spokesperson with the UNC media relations team told us this morning that they're going to be in closed session for this meeting. However, we were here at the last meeting exactly 2 weeks ago where committee members shared that they do need this process to speed up for competitive and confidentiality reasons. So we know members of this committee are tasked with identifying a small number of finalists for the position. They'll get one step closer to that goal with more discussions happening today. Kevin Guskiewicz left UNC for Michigan State in January. That's when interim Chancellor Lee Roberts took over. So we know since then the search team has reached out to hundreds of individuals, especially in the last few weeks, to gauge interest and to solicit recommendations. Some are current university chancellors or presidents. Others are vice presidents, provosts, and deans at large public or top research universities. The Board of Governors and System President Peter Hans will make the final determination. We know they're hoping to make that announcement later this year. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Chapel Hill.
After a history-making day in Paris, Team USA is looking to add to its medal count. Let's take a look at some of the big events happening today. At 9 o'clock this morning, it's about, 21 minutes, the USA women's beach volleyball team will take on France. And then starting at 11:30, you can watch Team USA men's gymnastics compete in the all-around final. Then starting at 2:30 this afternoon, back to the swimming pool. That includes finals for the women's 100-meter freestyle and 1,500-meter freestyle. You can watch all those events and more live today on WRAL, or you can catch the replays on primetime in Paris starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
The U.S. women's gymnastics team is golden once again. Simone Biles led Team USA back to the top of the Olympic podium, winning a gold medal in yesterday's team final. Biles received a standing ovation after her floor routine. She is now the most decorated American gymnast in the history of the Olympic Games with 8 medals. She has a chance to bump that up. The individual competition hasn't even started yet.
All right, so let's take a look at where the overall medal count stands this morning. The USA continues to lead the way with 27 total medals. We just got another silver in the women's BMX freestyle. France is in second place and China has moved up to third, tied with Great Britain. Japan rounds out the top 5.
Well, one question our meteorologists get a lot is if August is actually warmer than July. Meteorologist Chris Michaels dug a little deeper to find out for us. Chris, July has been very hot, but it is now the hottest month of the summer. What's going on here?
Exactly. So this was actually a question I got in the gym the other day. I was like, let me look into it. So those darker maroon colors, that's the average temperature in July over the last 50, 25, 10, and 5 years. Over the past 5 years, July has by far been the hottest month out of summer, but you notice how that's kind of been a gradual trend for July to overtake the other 2 months. So far this July, it's been the 6th hottest on record at RDU with an average temperature of 82.5. The hottest was set back in 2011. Now, this is all part of a trend ever since 1970, according to Climate Central at least, that summer's been the second quickest warming season, second behind winter. And over the past few years, it's like winter has barely even existed around here, right? But let's focus on one thing at a time. Heading into August, August, it looks like temperatures are going to skyrocket for the first couple of days. Factor in the humidity. We could be looking at some heat advisories Thursday and Friday afternoons. Climate Prediction Center saying above average warmth is likely for August of 2024. Also could be looking at above average tropical activity. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is going to have a closer look at that coming up in less than 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, life may be a box of chocolates, but you may want to watch out for a certain kind. The new study that shows the dangers of organic dark chocolate and its potential effects on your body.
And it's deja vu all over again for HBO. A major leak for the last episode of House of the Dragon Season 2.
Senseless war and send. Shall never prevail. Not like this.
It is 8:45. We take a live look at Apex this morning. Lots of sunshine here. It is sticky and it will be getting hotter and hotter the next couple of days. 75, our official temperature in the Triangle with a dew point of 69. We do climb to 90 degrees by the time we get to lunchtime. So turning hotter again. The heat index 102 to 108 this afternoon, and it will be even higher tomorrow as our temperature climbs into the upper 90s for both Thursday and Friday. The next couple of days, our chances for storms are minimal, mainly in our southern counties. But tomorrow and Friday, we have a level 1 risk for severe storms across the entire viewing area. And of course, we've been talking about a system potentially developing across the Bahamas and moving up the coast of North Carolina. We'll touch on that as well. First of all, our weather watcher Amber Smith sent us this beautiful rainbow from Zebulon. We love to see your photos. Please send us more. Go to WRAL.com, search weather watchers, and send us a few. We'd love to put them on TV. 95 today in Durham and Raleigh, and 98 in Fayetteville, and it'll be even hotter for tomorrow. But this is a look at our heat index this afternoon across the viewing area. 104 Southern Pines, 105 Clinton Goldsboro, 107 Fayetteville, 101 Durham and South Hill. So feeling much hotter over the next few days, potentially up to 106 in the Triangle tomorrow and 110 on Friday. If the Weather Service doesn't put us in a heat advisory for tomorrow, certainly it's likely for Friday. Temperatures gradually begin to drop a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. The highs will be back into the low 90s, but still lots of humidity around for those heat indices still in the triple digits. We've had a few disturbances dropping in from the north and west. We'll see another one of those. We saw one overnight last night. We're in between systems right now, but you can see across Kentucky and Tennessee, that one's going to drop into South Carolina as well, but may produce a few isolated showers and thunderstorms in our southern counties. So we'll start here at lunchtime, and you can see by the time we get to 5 or 6 o'clock, a few isolated showers and storms develop. That's the brand new run of the computer model, which shows even less rain than we were seeing in the previous run. So our chances for that today, 20 to 30% at best. It's a 60% chance, though, that we could see a system developing here in the Bahamas and potentially moving either up the coast of North Carolina or over here into the Gulf of Mexico. We just had a brand new run from our American model, which solidifies things a little bit more in the Gulf. However, the European model is still holding on to that potential for this to move offshore of North Carolina. So it's still too early to tell exactly what that system is going to do. So keep checking back. 98 Thursday and Friday. Again, possibly will be under a heat advisory for either one of those days. After that, the heat backs off a little bit, but the humidity remains.
Brand new information just into the WRAL Live Center. Boeing has announced a new CEO to take over the struggling plane maker and help steer the turnaround after the company lost almost $1.5 billion in the second quarter. That's triple the losses from the same period a year ago. So a longtime industry executive, Kelly Ortberg, will take over as chief executive of the troubled aircraft manufacturer. He'll succeed David Calhoun as CEO. Ortberg faces a multitude of issues, including trying to revive jet production and rebuilding trust with regulators, the industry, and the flying public in general. Shares, there's an immediate response. Shares of the company, Boeing, have risen almost 3% already today, ahead of the opening bell.
It's just keep coming for Boeing. Thank you, Jeff. Durham police are looking for a man accused of attacking a Lowe's home improvement employee with a sledgehammer. The attack happened Saturday morning at the location on Fayetteville Road. Police say that this man hit 60-year-old employee John Wilburn with a sledgehammer, and that was before he left the store with a drill set. Wilburn was taken to the hospital, and police have not identified the man accused of attacking him. They say there is a warrant, though, out for his arrest.
Today, a group of parents plans to gather in Raleigh to call for more funding for private school vouchers. The group says it wants the legislature to clear more than 55,000 students who were waitlisted for the Opportunity Scholarship Program. They say legislators have failed to address the funding gap. Parents plan to gather at 10 o'clock this morning on Halifax Mall.
The stabbing deaths of 3 young girls in England are leading to violent protests. Police say that protesters threw things at a local mosque and police officers there. Authorities also say that the protesters are affiliated with a group called the English Defence League. They're angry because of reports the attacker is Muslim. 3 children died and 8 more people were hurt in the violent attack on a dance class in northern England. It happened during a Taylor Swift-themed event on Monday. Now, police say they don't know what led to the attack, but they do not believe this was terrorism. A 17-year-old is in custody, though.
We'll take a look at this. A giant sinkhole opened up near Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. It's not clear how this happened. Police say the road will be closed for an extended period of time.
New this morning, a new study shows that dark chocolate sold nationwide may contain a lot of heavy metals. We're talking about lead, we're talking about cadmium, arsenic. The study published today looked at 70 dark chocolate products from retailers such as Whole Foods, Amazon, and GNC. 43% of the products studied had high lead levels. 35% had high cadmium levels. Now, none of the products exceeded the maximum allowed level for arsenic. The study looked at pure dark chocolate, not milk chocolate.
As temperatures creep back up to the 90s, Wake County is opening up cooling shelters to give people some relief. Stations will be opening starting today through at least Sunday. You can stop in at any Wake County Public Library, the county's regional centers, or Health and Human Service centers. A classic mystery thriller returns to theaters, and another concert film also hit theaters. Ashley Dvorkin has that and more in the Hollywood Nation.
Our parents are monsters.
Wow. A first look at Spellbound, Longlegs scores big, and Usher heads to the big screen in the Hollywood Nation. Usher is the next music star to release a concert film in theaters. Usher Rendezvous in Paris was filmed during his 8-concert performance in the City of Lights last year and will feature many of his chart-topping hits. It will play for a limited time starting September 12th. Seth Meyers is bringing the laughs to HBO. The late-night talk show host will release a new comedy special this fall. The show was filmed in front of a live audience at the Vic Theater in Chicago.
Longlegs.
Neon's horror thriller Longlegs has set a record. According to Deadline, the film is now the studio's highest-grossing film of all time, topping the Oscar-winning Parasite with $58.6 million in its 3rd week at the domestic box office. It also tops A24's Talk to Me as the highest-grossing indie horror movie of the past 10 years. Alfred Hitchcock's classic mystery thriller Rear Window will return to theaters August 25th and 28th in honor of its 70th anniversary. It centers on a wheelchair-bound photographer who becomes convinced one of his neighbors committed a murder.
This is your king and queen.
Netflix drops an original fairy tale in today's first looks. The animated adventure Spellbound follows a young girl on a quest to save her family and kingdom after a mysterious spell transforms her parents into monsters. It premieres November 22nd.
Dad, put him down.
That was Ashley Dvorkin with that. As the Targaryens prepare for battle, HBO is battling some substantial leaks again. Some House of the Dragon fans got a glimpse of the upcoming season finale before it airs. A TikTok account posted about a dozen clips of the episode last night. They've since been taken down, but not before getting nearly 1 million views. This is not the first time the franchise has suffered leaks. Clips from the House of the Dragon Season 1 finale were leaked, as well as the entire episodes of the finale season of Game of Thrones. What we don't know just yet, Michelle, is there a Starbucks cup that is on set that should not be there?
I remember. I'm probably one of the only ones that I've never even seen a single episode of this show. It is just not. I can't do the gory.
It's violent. There are some themes
it.
that are not for everyone.
Yeah.
I think it is entertaining. There's a good plot, and George R. R. Martin's a good writer.
I hear it's a fantastic show. All right, before we go to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic next.